Hi guys, this is Mrs. Oatley. We are going to be doing 8-10 on the homework notes today. And it is clusters, peaks, gaps, and outliers. Now, we did not do 8-7, 8-8, and 8-9. So we are just skipping to 8-10. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start with a dot plot. Okay, so first of all, I have 2 dots at 0, 4 dots at 1, 2 dots at 2, just fill this out as we go, 1 at 3, nothing at 4, 5, 6, 7 has 3, 8 has 5, and nothing at 9, and nothing at 10. So on our dot plot, we're going to be looking at some data, okay? And we're going to be talking about clusters, peaks, gaps, and outliers. So let's go ahead and use the data here from our dot plot and go through some of these vocab terms, okay, this math vocabulary. The first one we have is a cluster, okay? And a cluster is a group of data values that are close together. Okay, so for example, if we look at our data here, we have a small cluster of data from 0 to 3. And we also have another small cluster from 7 to 8. So that was cluster. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move my paper up a little smidge, make sure it's straight. Okay, we're going to go through and talk about peaks. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and write a peak. Okay, a peak is a value that appears most often. So looking at our data, the value up here, or the number in our dot plot that appears most, is 8. We have more dots on 8 than any other number. So we would say the peak is at 8. Okay. Now gap. Gap is our next math vocabulary here. Okay. And gaps, I still want to make sure I have my data in the chart. Gaps are just intervals or spots with no data. Okay, so when I look at my dot plot up here, I notice a gap right away from 4 to 6. There's an interval or a spot with no data. And then I also notice a gap over here from 9 to 10. So let's go ahead and write that down. Okay, so we have a gap from 4 to 6 and a gap from 9 to 10. So sorry that the camera is a little wobbly. I'm kind of hooked on a flimsy table. I would try to fix it, but I don't want to. cause any problems. Okay, maybe that will fix a little bit. Okay. And clusters, peaks, gaps, and outliers. The last math vocabulary word that we're going to talk about is outlier. Okay, and an outlier is a piece of data that is separated by other data. And so looking at this on outliers, I don't really see anything that's separated by other data. And one thing that I didn't actually put in on this, like we can see that there's a gap here, but then the data continues on. So an outlier would be like nothing, 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 and then 1 at 10, okay? So not only is it separated, but it's separated from a great distance, okay? It's kind of like the one lonely bird in the flock, right? All the other ones are here, and then there's one clear out in left field, okay? So that would be the outlier. So in this particular dot plot, there are no outliers. Okay, so let's go ahead and turn the page. This one I have previously filled in a little bit, so I'm gonna cover my paper for a minute, okay? This says 25, let me pull it down here. 25 sixth graders were surveyed and asked in minutes, how long does it take you to get ready for school in the morning? Their answers are shown in the table at the right, okay? So I want everyone to look over to the table at the right, okay? I have mine all filled out, and I'm actually going to read it to you, or you can pause the video, okay? But I'm going to read it to you so you can get it filled out, and I'm just going to say them in clusters of 3. So here we go. We've got 30, 60, 45, 60, 25, 90, 55, 60, 50, 60, 30, 60, 10, 45, 25, 45, 30, 60, 50, 60, 45, 90, 60, 30. I'm going to pull this up a bit. And then the last one we have here is 50. Okay? So, what I want you to do is this is our data table. These are the 25 sixth graders who were surveyed and put how many minutes it takes for them to get ready for school in the morning. Okay? So, I want you to pause the video. I want you to take this data here on the side, and I want you to put it into the dot plot. Okay? So go ahead and pause the video, get that done, and make sure it looks like mine. Okay? So go ahead and pause. Okay. When you are all done, is what we're going to do now is we are going to look at our dot plot, and we are going to notice and look for data. Okay? So we are going to talk about, we've got these numbers, and we've taken these numbers, and we've transferred our data, I'm going to write data, over to our dot plot, which is our graph. Okay? Now, some vocabulary words that we're going to look for, or some things that we're going to talk about on our dot plot, are range, mode, mean, and median. Okay, so hopefully you have those written down. Now, looking at the dot plot, I want to find the range. Well, my graph starts at 5 and it ends here at 90, but I don't have any dots or I don't have any data at 5. So in order to find the range, you take your highest number of accumulated data on the graph. So my highest number would be 90 because I do have data at the 90 number here. So you take the highest marked data on your dot plot and you subtract it from the lowest marked data on your dot plot. Now, my lowest number is 5, but like I said, I don't have any data from my chart over here in 5. I have to take the data that's marked. So my range is from all of my numbers. The range of my data is from 10 to 90. It's not from 5 to 90 because I don't have any data there. The range of my data falls in the category of 10 to 90. But, you know, we can't subtract 10 from 90, so we subtract 90 from 10, and the range would be equal sign 80 minutes because we're talking about number of minutes. Okay, now the mode. Let's go ahead and we've got range, mean, mode, and median. Yeah, we'll go ahead and start with mode. Okay, now we have taken all of our data here from our data table. We've put it into our dot plot. Now, I don't know if you can see this big arrow coming down here. You need to take all of this data or all of the dots here in the dot plot and you need to arrange it from least to greatest. Okay, so I'm going to put my pause up, okay, and I want you to start with 10 and then you can skip, and then you've got 25, so you would have 25, 25, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, okay, no 35, no 40. So I want you to pause, and when you come back on, I want you to have your numbers all at the bottom, count them up, and make sure that you have the same number of dots as you do numbers at the bottom, okay? So go ahead and pause that, and when you're ready, we will start using that least to greatest number at the bottom. Okay, so we know that mode means most often. So looking at my graph here, or looking at my numbers and my graph, which one of these has the number that occurs most often? Well, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on 60. If I pull that down, 60 was definitely the most popular. And then I can also look down here, and I have a lot of 60s here too. So the mode is going to be 60 minutes because 60 occurs the most often. Okay, now mean. If you remember, we kind of used that analogy that the mean teacher averages the grades. Well, we're going to take all the minutes from all 25 sixth graders and we're going to add them all up, and then we're going to divide by however many numbers, and we know that it's going to be 25 numbers. Okay, so we're going to add up 30 plus 60 plus 45 plus 60 plus 25 and so on and so on and so on. But just to save time, I'm going to go ahead and tell you that if you add all that up, because hopefully you would use a calculator, right? It's going to equal 1,225. Okay? Now I want to find the average. So I take the total and then I divide it by the number in the data set. And there were 25 sixth graders. So I'm going to take 1,225 and I'm going to divide it by 25. Okay? And I'm just going to go ahead and tell you that 25 will go into 1,225 49 times. So the answer is 49 minutes because everything is in minutes. My graph up here, or my data, says minutes. So all of my labels need to be in minutes as well. Okay, now the last part. Here's where we took our data here and put it in a chart from least to greatest. And median, if you remember, means the middle. Okay, well, we know there are 25 numbers, and half of 25 is roughly 12. So I'm going to go ahead and count 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And I'm going to put a little dot. Then I'm going to start from this direction. Hopefully you can see the 90 up here. And I'm going to count, move my notes so you can see. I'm going to count 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I've counted 12 this direction and 12 this direction, and the number that is smack dab in the middle is 50. So my median is 50 minutes, okay? And this data set here was an odd number of data. 25 is odd. So when it's an odd number, I know that I'm going to have one piece of data smack in the middle. But remember, if it's even, you're then going to have to take the 2 that you have in the middle and you're going to have to find the average of those, okay? But we got lucky with this being an odd set of data, okay? So I think that's all. So just to review the lesson, today we already knew how to make a dot plot. But today we talked about some of the academic vocabulary and the different ways to check our data. And that would be looking for clusters, peaks, gaps in your data, and outliers. And then on the back, we then took our data table, which we've been doing. We took that data and transferred it to a dot plot. And then we reviewed with some of this information from last lesson, range, mean, mode, and median. And that's pretty much all we did. I know there are some of the questions on the homework that are going to talk about quartiles and absolute deviation, but we are not doing those problems. So make sure that you read carefully in your teacher's notes to see what problems you guys are going to be doing, okay? All right, well, that was our very last, homework notes for Unit 8. So, I guess we'll see you on 9.